Hi everyone, this is Jim Tolles. I'm a spiritual teacher. I blog regularly at spiritualawakeningprocess.com, as many of you know, and I occasionally do videos here on this Jim Tolles YouTube channel. Today I want to offer some thoughts on the topic that nothing real is lost on the spiritual path. Before going too far into this topic, it's just a quick reminder that below this video are some other links that I've put in, a way to sign up for a free newsletter, a way to donate if you so feel called to do so. I invite you to check them out after watching this video. When I say nothing real is lost, it immediately brings up this question of what is real. In many respects, the path of dissolving the ego and realizing spiritual freedom is a path to understand reality. Most of what people focus on as real life is really a reference towards societal life, which is entirely made up. Sometimes I hear people say, I don't know how to be spiritual in the real world, but we're not talking about the real world. Being spiritual in the real world is absolutely effortless. Being a certain type of spirituality with a certain type of society, however, creates all sorts of friction because we're trying to construct and maintain two different types of illusions. The illusion of ourselves, and whatever we think spiritual means, and the illusion of society and the way that we particularly see society. Because we really only see a small part of society. Society is rather large. There are many types of societies, many types of ego structures in societies. And as we let go of our ego, we usually find that we have plenty of freedom to interact in all sorts of different ways as and when we see fit. It's not really that big of an issue. The bigger issue is we don't know ourselves well enough to even have an idea of what engaging with the real world is like and how to engage with the fictional world in some way that kind of makes sense. Instead, we're stuck in our programs, doing the same types of things that we've been taught to believe we should continue to do, and ignoring countless other opportunities because they don't fit within our ego programming. And that ignorance, right, ignoring ignorance, is so unconsciously done and so spectacularly done in a sense that we don't realize that we're doing it. We don't realize all the different opportunities in front of us every day that we ignore. Part of the actual real world, we start to notice more possibilities. And in noticing possibilities, the idea that we're losing something in and of itself loses power. Now I bring up this topic of nothing real is lost because so much of what the ego focuses on is a sense of loss in the beginning parts of spiritual work. Later on, this isn't something that really concerns us. We're not feeling like we're lost with anything. At certain times, we actually feel maybe even a little overwhelmed further along because there are so many possibilities. And as your ego filter drops away, choosing from all these possibilities becomes a little different. Further along still, that doesn't bother you. Further along still, it's just what it is. And you find yourself responding from a more natural state. Natural isn't impulsive. Natural isn't unconscious. Natural isn't lost in different desires. It's just where you arrive in a matured state and how you engage or not with whatever societal life, human life is giving you. But earlier on, loss feels like a big thing. And we are losing things. We're losing attachments. We're losing illusions. And it's certainly true that some people won't like that we go through these processes, and the illusion that we're losing a relationship can happen. The problem, of course, is no relationship actually exists. The only relationship I can think of that has any amount of reality is the one where a mother is carrying her child. Right? We have pictures of that one. All other relationships we've never seen. We can put two people side by side, but if there's no context, where it's like, I don't know if this is a relationship these two people have. Maybe there's two strangers that we've put together. Right? If relationships were particularly real, you wouldn't need any help understanding what they were. This is a friendship, romance, business partnership, father-daughter, mother-son. I don't know. You see the relationship between a tree and the ground, and you have a pretty clear idea what that relationship is. And this process of coming into understanding of what is actually real and that can't be lost is an interesting process in and of itself. But it's not what the ego ever wants. What the ego wants is the usual. I've talked about this a lot. It wants safety. It wants happiness. It tends to want a certain kind of certainty. It wants to know that, yes, I will get this happiness and safety. And this is one of the reasons that I'm talking about this sense of loss, is because that's one of the ego threats. It says you are going to lose things. And you will lose things. You will lose illusions and attachments. You don't lose abilities. Usually your abilities and possibilities open up because you're no longer limiting yourself. You're no longer confined by what your ego has said is or is not possible. So in that way, what we start to find out is actually a lot of reality has been lost by our ego. And we're so used to having it be unavailable, at least based on what we believe is real, that it's often surprising as we let go and we're like, wow, I didn't realize I could do this, or I could say this, or I could live this way, or I could feel this. These are often signs that we're letting go, that we start to have these moments of realization. As we go, we really start to embrace the losing for a while. Losing attachments. Losing illusions. The ego threat that somehow loss is a bad thing starts to break down. And it really sinks in that this is an addition by subtraction process, much like I talked about in another video, that we are subtracting illusions, subtracting ego, subtracting these deeper attachments to be able to see what's already here. And in so doing, it's like removing fences that you had around you, removing walls, and seeing all the space that was hidden from sight that's out beyond that. And in that way, in that level of realization, the concept of loss breaks down. And deeper levels of understanding what is real come forward, because you begin to see all the temporary structures and the illusions that human beings get so fixated on. We get so caught up in these things that don't actually exist or are very, very temporary. And of course, there's a great deal of suffering that happens when you try to hold on to something that does not exist. There's a great deal of suffering that goes on when we try to hold on to things that are temporary. And as we see those attachments, we surrender more. These are just a few thoughts. If you have further questions about what I mean in regards to nothing real is lost, feel free to comment below. Have a beautiful rest of your day.